right. Happy Wednesday, everyone. We're back with some more Roadwarden. Of course, starting off with the very pleasant ambient music. Let's get back into it. If I remember correctly, I was attempting to basically unlock all points of the map that I could. And to see what's there, because there's like 2 or 3 different towns that I should be able to get to. So I know that there's a pebbler here, and that should be where Old Pagos is, which they are apparently experiencing a plague. So this guy I just met at the gate here, he's from there, and he has just been watching this gate by himself, just living at the gate because he can't go back home because, well, there's a plague. So that's where we are. He didn't want me to... He wasn't going to let me through the gate unless I gave him a whole bunch of food rations, even though I offered him multiple other ways to handle it. But nope, food rations or nothing. So we're going to let that be, and I need to go east, but I don't have enough food rations to give him yet. So we'll continue on. We're going to try this path right here and see where it leads. And then we'll head... What time is it? Yeah. So we'll head up here. Hopefully this path doesn't take too long and we can make it to creeks. Oh, I can't stay there, can I? I think that was the issue before. We'll be able to make it to Foggy Lake and then creeks. So... You're not used to the scents of the bogs, but you weren't expecting them to be so gentle. The humid air makes you think of smoked meat, and even though you ride by a few rotting carcasses and animal droppings, just as often you cross tiny meadows of pink, yellow, and red flowers. The noises tell stories of never-ending wars between the swarms of insects, frogs in their hideouts, snakes lurking among the purple grasses, birds patrolling both the water and the sky, and the saurians preparing to strike from beneath the surface. You can't separate the sounds of the living from those of the dying, if they're even different at all. You reach a boulder in the middle of the road, on the edge of a large pond. The road splits from here in 2 directions, but the only smoke you see is to the southeast. From the saddle, I see no creature standing in my way. The wetlands get dangerous an hour earlier. Well, maybe we shouldn't be. We got 5 hours. It just sounds like I'm asking for trouble, but it's a quick save. Southeast. Well, I can go south or I can go east. Don't think it... Yeah, now I'm not sure. I'm not sure which way is actually correct. So let's try the eastern path. Oh, that sounds not good. The road takes you to the edge of the woods. A few trees have found lucky scraps of soil towering above the water, while others, shorter and not as lush, have roots sunk in the pond. Some of the plants were felled with tools, so the route itself isn't so dark, while the few sunbeams getting through the weaker branches on your left are surrounded by darkness and swarms of insects. Help me! Help! The sudden cry, as well as screams of pain, reaches you from beneath the trees. A woman or a child? Oh boy. Well, it may be a trap. Well, I dismount and grab my axe. You lean toward the pond. It's cleaner than in the other parts of the bog, allowing you to see the bottom. Parts of it are still more than knee-deep, and the sulfuric odor makes you step away with a frown. The brownish color can't hide all the bones and plant remains that are sticking out of the bed. Oh, I don't have a choice now. I have no time to waste. I rush into the water. You get slower with every step as your pants and boots are soaked in water and mud. The cold water makes you shiver, and the sulfuric odor makes you glance at the animal bones sticking out of the pond bed. The voice doesn't stop. You gather your bravery and move forward, disturbing the sediment so much that it forms a cloud of muck after every step. You run into the trees. I follow the voice. It leads you deeper into the trees, but your clothes turn every step into a struggle. You think it's coming from one of the larger plants, with a crown so dense you can barely see anything between the branches. Something lands on your back, and you plunge into the water, getting pinned down to the mud by massive paws. You're choking, hearing only splashes. My only option. It's a random roll. I need to get out of the water. You try to roll away, and while the creature is heavy, with large paws and strong legs, you're strong enough to knock it off yourself. You bounce from the ground and dash through the shallow water, smoothly getting back on your feet, still holding your blade. I gasp for air and look at the beast. The cat's legs are bent, ready to jump, wide and muscular. Its eyes, staring at you without a blink, are round and yellow, with pitch black irises in the center. It's waist high, with its chin hanging just above the water, and a jaw that could bite off your limb in a heartbeat. It has short hair and whiskers, and a nose as big as your hand. Even without the dirt, it's almost black, with glimpses of yellow that form a rose-like pattern on its sides and dots on its head. You can't see the creature's paws through the now clouded water. The cat lets out a growl, like a saw cutting a log. It's unscathed, confident. I take a defensive stance. When you hear the flapping of wings, it's already too late. Bird talons sink into your shoulder, and once you get distracted, the cat darts forward, reaching for your thighs. You evade its first strike, but it then pushes your stomach with its huge paw, cutting through the armor. Before you can reach it with your blade, it's already out of your range. Your fine gambeson keeps you in one piece. The gray bird also flies away, now circling around you, gracefully avoiding the tree trunks and branches. It has a red tail and a short, curved, vulture-like beak. It growls just like the cat did a moment ago, and you notice that the human screams have disappeared. So it's 2 against 1. The cat looks into your eyes, then roars. As it moves forward, you don't see any wounds on its shell. Its companion circles around you, looking for an opportunity to attack from above. Cutting that bird should be easy enough. You wait for the bird to dive at you, then take a swing, using your time to get further away from the cat. The blade sends the halves of the raven-sized creature into the water, to the enjoyment of the local scavengers. A few gray and red feathers are drifting next to you. I raise the axe and look at the cat. The cat roars toward its dead companion, then looks into your eyes. As it moves forward, you don't see any wounds on its shell. I put my trust in the armor and focus on making fierce cuts. Not distracted by the bird, you give it your all. You let the cat get close to you, grabbing its heavy neck with your arm, but unable to avoid its paws. Your fine gambeson keeps you in one piece. In the meantime, your sharp axe sinks into the beast's back. The creature leaps away, roaring in anger and pain. I wash the blade in water and follow the cat's movements. The cat looks at its dead companion and, without a second thought, leaps away, then partially swims, crossing the pond with a speed matching your palfrey's gallop. You consider following it, but after it reaches a tree crown with just 2 jumps, then gets to another one with a single breath, you wipe your forehead and turn away. Gasping, wet, and frustrated, you hobble back to the beaten path. Haas seems worried, and you try to ease its soul with a few encouraging words, hoping it will leave you alone for a minute. You consider washing your clothes, but you need a wash tub for it, if not a stream. You put on as many dry clothes as you can find, hoping your wet boots don't give you a cold. I don't know, the only option is well, I did my best, but I can't even click it. Well, that's kind of lame. Now I need to get my gambeson repaired again. I need to find another spider. Well. What time is it? We might as well. I don't know if I should keep going this way. I should probably just go back to Foggy Lake. Sorry about that. Dog's barking about something. Yeah, let's go back to Foggy Lake. The surface of the lake is restless, and the cold wind strikes the tavern's hanging barrel again and again. You adjust your cloak. There are dozens of feathers scattered around the yard, as well as some bloodstains on an apron that's hung on the fence. I approach the foragers. Once the man in black fur hears your steps, he nudges his companion and nods toward you. They put away the old noose traps they were trying to fix, proper for hares and small birds. The tall one spreads his arms, thundering his loud welcome. A Roadwarden, eh? I guess we're going to see each other a lot. I'm Elan, I think? And this shorty here is Svi? I don't know how to say it. The man in the black fur looks up, frowning. There's also the one-handed man you saw in the attic. Unlike the rest of the staff, he has an unkempt beard and worn clothes made of blue fabric, patched with scraps of flour sacks. He's looking down to examine a trap, but his shoulders are slumped, eyes absent. Elan doesn't introduce him. Oh, thanks for the follow, JT. Dane, nice to meet you. Elan smiles. Were you at Pelt of the North yet, friend? He blushes. How is Delete doing? Is that the one with the yellow armor? She's well, seems to keep the whole crew together. That's her. A lively color, aye? Yellow? He smiles, but you catch a hint of envy in his voice. Better say hi to her for us. Her boss was looking for hard drinks and healing potions. I wish I could have helped her. He glances at his companion, who's currently observing a column of ants running alongside the palisade. They were offering good prices, and she was really good at dice. Told us about so many monsters. I don't... Zevi? Maybe? Adjusts his black cloak. Our traps won't fix themselves. What brings you to us? Elan frowns at this interruption, but says nothing. Admon, Dahlia, and Vashil didn't return from their hunting trip. Did they share any plans with you? Why would they? Growls Svi. They don't waste our time. We don't bother with theirs. Elan's eyes are a bit warmer. Ephron already asked us. They ate there, on the stairs, then left days ago. They didn't want to get in each other's way, so they planned to spread. That's all I know. Seeing your look, he spreads his arm in an awkward shrug. They were laughing, eating, all confident and strong. I didn't know they would disappear. You consider his words when the shorter man starts to snap his fingers. Wait. I heard one thing. Something about, that they won't go north because of the dark magic in the tunnel. Then it's smart of them, concludes Elan, with a humble smile. Better than nothing, I'm sure they're fine. I turn toward the one without a hand. Do you know Tulia? The man gives you a surprised glance, but then looks down and crosses his arms, holding his hand under his shoulder. I'm a new man now. There's nothing that ties me to the army. He has the accent of the city folk, same as yours. You've crossed a great part of this land, greater than most. Have you seen anything unusual? He takes a deep breath. His voice is close to a whisper. There's fog in my soul. I was on the eastern road, hungry and sick, praying for the right to send its beasts on me and save me from the pains of living. I remember the touch of fur and the breath on my neck, the claws pinning me to the ground. I was waiting with my eyes closed, then I woke up in the middle of the night, still feeling. I got back on my feet, walking until I reached the lights of this tavern, without so much as a bruise. Foggy may have no faith in her heart, but the right used her kindness to give me a second chance. Elan frowns at the man's words, and there's cautiousness in his voice. He may be crazy, but it's true. He came here after midnight, raving. Maybe the monsters don't like his scent. So you forgot everything? He hides his stump in the palm of his hand and curls up. I've seen a dragon eating a tree, an ape that tore away the head of a monstrous cat, and a wolf without fur that was as quick as lightning. Now leave me alone, evil spirit. Let my shame rest. He's shaking. Let him be, aye? Svi grunts at you. Nothing wrong about a man trying to forget. Elan rubs his chin. A furless wolf, friend? I've heard about one. Our tribefolk saw it in the heart of the woods. A nasty beast. Let's hope it won't find a mate for breeding. It charges at you like a runner and jumps right at your throat. He touches his neck. So even the hunters stay away from it. Too bad we've no crossbows. He raises his wooden club. Aye, better to avoid the deep woods without one. What's your plan? I could use some work. Svi nods, and Elon's voice gets even louder. Glad to hear that. There's hardly any fruits left around here, and even fewer mushrooms. So we're planning to do some bird catching, a hunt without killing. Maybe not today, but in 4 days, maybe a bit later. What do you say? Why would you need my help with birds? Don't you just let them walk into traps? Elon glances at the cords used for snares. These won't do. We want to catch a runner, this big. He raises his muscular arm and stops it maybe a foot above his head, and bring it here, alive. We want its meat for later. The man with one hand interrupts him. His voice is weak, but disdainful. Beasts ought to be dealt with, not tamed. Bonding with monsters brings only death. Will bring us full bellies in winter, squawks Svi. I can't leave my horse behind. Oh, I wouldn't worry about it. Elon waves a hand, just like his mother. The idiot will take care of itself. The one-handed man starts to object, but a harsh shut up from Svi makes him sigh. His shoulders sag. Elon goes on. He's a loony, and would stumble over his own feet on a trip, but does what he needs when told to, and you know he won't steal it. He hates animals. How much do you pay? I mean, it may be a scary trip, but it won't take that long, Elon shrugs. Just show up here at noon, or before it. We'll be back in a few hours. You'll get 5 dragons, 2 if the bird dies. That's a good price for one afternoon, aye? Fine, I'll be back in 4 days, or soon after that. Elon grins. Do so. We still need to prepare, and you better do so as well. But don't make us wait for long. Let's not test the bird's patience. Just come 1 day before afternoon. Alright. I'll walk away. Do I have time to go anywhere else? Not really. I could check on the statue. Could check the foraging grounds. Trying to get to the cabin and back might be a bit of a stretch. Let's see, 3 hours? I could go to Creek and back. Let's go to Creek's. A few scantily clad people are standing on the bridge, greeting you as you ride by. On your way to the gate, a flock of sparrows takes off from the road, landing either on the watchtower or on the tree to your right. Alright, we're looking for Eli. He's cutting a plank into smaller slats. He nods to you and wipes the sweat off his forehead. Welcome to Creeks, friend. Oh, he refuses to work on... I should have bought the other one. I'd like to place this rod somewhere high. It belongs to Eudosha, the enchantress. He grabs the rod and looks at it with caution. I wouldn't call her our friend exactly. You'd do better selling this. Swinging it left and right like a club, he tells you to wait. It can't be just my decision. I'm going to ask the others, at least a few of them. You rest at a table and observe how the man approaches various souls and exchanges a few words with them. It takes him so long you manage to get bored enough to indulge a little girl who'd like to pet Haas. The man returns and gives you the rod back. Well, my tribe is far from convinced. He wipes the sweat off his forehead. We'd rather stay away from it. Okay, well, it's gonna be harder than I thought to just get him to hang up a rod. About the Eastern Path. Did you face any troubles? There was a big spider at the hunter's cabin, but it's gone now. He observes your cheeks and hands and smiles. I'm glad to see you're fine, friend. How's the cabin doing? You answer him a few times and he stretches his arms, then puts his hands on the back of his head. His eyes are absent. So it'll be an easy restoration. Maybe a few logs to swap, and the roof won't do much good anymore. It takes your pronounced grunt for him to blink a few times and raise the lid of the case. One for the news. He puts the first drag on the tabletop, then another next to it, and this one for taking care of the beast. Come on, Eli, I could have died in this trap. After a few breaths, he frowns. Spiders not that much of a threat, Roadwarden. They even crawl into our houses from time to time. I shake my head. You say that because you haven't seen it. We'll see. I cleared the statue south of Foggy's place. That woman with a stick? Seeing your nods, he stops his work. What for? The road is prettier now. He bursts into laughter. I don't think merchants care much about the views, friend. The statue may fall into the lake for what I care. I smile. Views are half the pleasure of a journey. Alright. Well, I Thought he might enjoy that because he's trying to get the merchants to actually take the eastern path to the village. I encountered a fallen tree in the far south. You describe its exact location. I guess it was unavoidable for this to happen at one point or another. Too bad it's so far away from here. He stops his work and turns toward you. So, would you like to help us with that, friend? You ask him what he proposes, and he describes what he calls a day of honest work. Just come to me someday in the early hours. I still need to discuss this with the tribe, but I'll ask the stronger folks to travel with you to the tree. They'll agree if they feel like the road can be trusted. Split it into blocks, get it on wagons, bring it here. It won't go to waste, and the road will be cleaned. When you mention it's going to take an entire day, he agrees. And you'll get 5 dragon bones for it. Just come to me when you're healthy, and only if you already know what's on the route from here to that point. We'll put a lot of trust into your guidance and protection, Dane. Okay. So you want me to get to know the entire route, make sure it's safe enough for your tribe to follow it, and come here in the morning, but only if I can handle the journey. Quite a list, but fine, we'll see. He thinks about your words and reaches for his case. You're right, that's a lot. I can't help you much, but at least you deserve 1 bone right away for bringing me the message. Maybe buy some rations for it, or a good rest. Actually, we also need at least 1 day to prepare ourselves. Thanks. Okay, well, it's kind of a bummer. Let's, does it not take any time to get to Foggy's from here? It's kind of weird. It's also kind of disconcerting. I'll see you later. Oh, that was just the map anyway, it wasn't travel. Okay, let's go talk to Ephron real quick. Tell him what we know about the hunters. Let's see. He's resting on a bridge, sitting on its edge, and keeping his feet in the cold water. As you get closer, he spares you a polite smile. Good to see you in one piece, traveler. I plan to help the foragers with catching a big runner. Any tips on how to approach this? So that's their scheme. He looks in the tavern's direction, pausing for a moment, then straightens up. Ah, so you're seeking advice from a more experienced hunter. He pats his club proudly. Well, there's the usual stuff. Don't fight hungry, have a decent jacket, be sure to have something to block a bird's charge. Oh, and maybe, he points at the sky and then stretches out his arms, as if holding a long stick. A spear. The longer you keep a runner at a distance, the better. Have you ever fought such a bird? Not yet, but I ran away from a few. And not everyone could say that. He lets out a burst of jaunty laughter. They are way too common at the edges of our woods, if you ask me. Ever since I met the first one, I jog. Maybe not every day, but almost. Okay. About the hunters. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll go back to Foggy and stay there for the night. You hear a commotion coming from the lake, drawing your eyes to the air bubbles and water ripples. After a couple of moments, a scrap of the lake turns red. The foragers are carving a new set of throwing clubs. I enter the tavern. I spoke with Caius. I wonder why did you decide to keep him around? Huh, do I need a reason? Her muse eyes get thoughtful as she looks at the ceiling. He came here as a poor soul in need. Taught only how to use a spear and shield. I know how it feels, to have all that you're good at taken away from you. She straightens up and hits her chest with her fist. But, so I know that new paths await us, with or without the help of others. Kai's legs may be buried in despair, but I'm ready to throw him a shovel once he asks for it. She pauses and looks through the window. Though these fantasies of his won't help him ask anytime soon, they swallow his thoughts. I'm looking for work. She grins. I somehow doubt you're here to forage for me, love. Not that I have any room for another soul. Let me think. She runs her eyes over the shelves and the trophies, but it's the rocks surrounding the fireplace that catch her attention. The Folks at Old Pagos are weirdly quiet. They were supposed to drop 2 wagons of rocks at my place. Can you check on them? Just find out if they're fine. You mentioned the payment. It won't take much work from a rider. You can get there and back in less than a day. Just ride west of here until the road takes you south to the crossroads. Just turn west again and you'll find the village. I'll give you, let's say, a dragon bone? You say that it's not much, but she waves it off. A Roadwarden should get familiar with all the villages anyway, right? Just do it when you have a chance. I'll have more coins for you once you prove that you can be trusted with the simpler tasks. I'll let you know if I learn anything. Oh, well, I kind of know. I know that it's dealing with a plague. I guess I actually have to go there. Okay, I don't have anything I can sell. Let's go and sleep. Yeah, I guess we just do this. How many rations do I have? 3. So I wish I could get rations from her too, but let's just go and rent for 1 dragon. The rains once again hit the ground, interrupting your sleep. Another day of many roads. Oh, good. You lose your senses right after you lie down. In the middle of the warm, stuffy night, you are entangled by your dreams, too tired to fully wake up, too accustomed to having a mid-sleep break to just get back to sleep. You are between the realms, surrounded by visions so vivid you are tempted to reach out, touch them, and stretch them out. They are your playground. Once I realize I'm in power, I do my best to enjoy myself. I fly, defeat dragons, eat and drink whatever I want. I like lucid dreaming. Listening to the grunts of the annoyed hoss make you feel uneasy, but at least the furs covering the floor are helping you relax. You don't even notice when it's already morning, and while the smell coming from the lower floor is uninviting, at least it's not you who has to clean it up. Alright, well... I might as well have some meals ready for me. Get one for the meals. Okay. I'd like to eat. She stretches out her arm and grabs a bowl. Give me a moment. You sit down at the clean table. After a moment, the keeper brings you some monster meat you can't identify, a couple of apples, and a cup of birch sap. Once you're done, Foggy packs the leftovers for you as a snack for the rest of the day, and mentions that you've already paid for another 3 meals. Alright. Time for me to go. Well, we still need a lantern. Let's see, fishing spot, safe water source. Fishing spot. Let's try to go south, I guess. The leafless plants resemble tree roots rather than creepers, even though they're dark green and sway from side to side slightly. Haas stops without a command, unwilling to approach the nightmarish gate. There's no other path in sight. Oh, do they actually grab you? Pick up some branches and throw them at the creepers. You step among the muds and grasses, but some desperate creatures scrape this land clean of any wood they can eat. It takes you a few moments before you find any that doesn't fall apart under your touch. Once it hits the creepers, they bend it backwards swiftly, then try to reach you with a loud swish, getting a bit longer as they repeat this attempt a few times. You tell your map to step away, but the plants don't chase after you. I examine the water. The dirty ponds are hard to see through. It takes a few minutes before you find a stick long enough to poke the water and reach its bottom. Even at the very bank, the water is as deep as your palfrey is tall, and it's quite possible that none of these conveniently spread paths appeared here on their own. Could it be that the locals carried much of the soil by themselves, connecting the deeper bogs with the other parts of the peninsula? Before you have time to dwell on it, you jump back, dodging the strike of a green saurian. You run away so quickly that it gives up its pursuit. Okay, well, we can't go that way. I guess let's keep trying to go down this path. Oh, wait, we can get past the peddler now. Let's go to Old Pagos. The path is clear, in a way. The peddler is nowhere in sight, but the road is covered with leaves and broken branches. The only fruit-bearing trees are growing right on the sides of the road, surely planted there by humans. There are many more fruits and leaves the monsters may chew on, so it may return any day now. Oh wow, that muddy road really took a lot out of the day. If it craves what this place has to offer so much, I should just get rid of its food. It may take me an hour or two, but at least I'll gather some fruits for myself. You prepare all your tools, especially your thick protective gloves, and tether Haas to one of the younger trees. It's not an easy task. You spend more than an hour cutting down twigs, shaking off the fruits of the thinner branches, picking them by hand, or hitting them with a stick. Your rope helps you stay secure, and the first few minutes of climbing is closer to fun than work, but the longer it takes, the more tired you become. You finally take a break to eat a couple of plums and apples, but the best ones you save for later, covering them with a blanket and putting on the very top of your bundles. You're standing on a carpet of greens, browns, reds, and purples. You drag some of the thicker branches to the side to make riding forward easier, but the earthworms and boars are going to have a feast. Let's hope the peddler is picky enough to ignore all the mess on the ground. The corridor of pruned trees leads you to a steep ascent. Behind them grows a peaceful meadow filled with flowers and crickets, and the humming of a waterfall. On the beaten path, you spot no footprints or wheel trails, but there's smoke on the horizon. I dismount and lead Haas on a rope. The pastures and fields are spread over an unnatural plateau. Humans must have been carving it in the hill for generations, covering it with soil brought here in buckets and wagons. Among the weeds and tall grasses, you spot rotting tools and a tunic. The pasture is overgrowing, and so are the fields. Some of the oats are ready for harvest. Oh boy. Something is wrong. I prepare my axe. The locked gate is taller than a troll, and you can't imagine climbing up the massive wall. For a moment, you follow the path to the edge of the cliff. The roaring ocean is more than 100 feet below you. You spot no one looking at you from the watchtower, no patrols or archers. The wall is occupied by black and blue birds of various types. You return to the gate and focus on the sounds. There are a few screaming ibexes. A young boy is crying. I knock on the gate with the handle of my weapon. Oh, music changed. The thudding scares away the birds. They caw loudly, starting the cacophony of throats and flapping wings. After maybe a minute, you hear a bronze plate scratching against the wood as someone reveals the peephole. The strict female voice stops you from moving closer. Traveler, Old Pagos is secluding, for it has been smitten by a deadly plague. Begone before ye get sick. Distanced. I introduce myself. We can't welcome ye with bread nor meat. You look into the young brown eyes that match the skin of the black-haired owner. While the woman looks like a southerner, she has a strong local accent. She follows you cautiously, without blinking, like a fighter awaiting a strike. We parted with a dozen souls already. The monks in the north are masters of spells and potions, guided by the right themselves, yet even they can't help us. You hear more footsteps gathering near the entrance, and a weak voice of an elder chips in. May them be blessed, for they look after our ill. The woman continues, You won't find shelter here. We ought not drown our tribes with it. Such is our duty. A pause. Even if they would not show us such kindness. I have a few questions. Ask, but there's not much we can do for ye. We see no one, we travel nowhere. We were born on this hill and will die here. After a few breaths, her eyes get kinder. I'm Tertia. If you bring any news, I'll take them to our council. Alright, a lot of questions here. Tell me more about this illness. What does it do? She glances at someone or something that stands to her right. It lasts a long time. Even those who seem to avoid death remain weak for days. There are fevers, headaches, red faces, red eyes, and rash. Those whom we had to burn were sleeping and raving, unable to understand us, and got too weak to move or even drink. She looks down. Children and elderly suffer the most. Why don't you harvest your crops? Even though her cold gaze doesn't break, her voice betrays her pain. Some of our youth refuse to stay behind the walls. They say they need to leave before they fall sick. If we were to let them outside, one of them could refuse to come back. You frown. No, it wasn't pain what you've heard. It's shame. I'm looking for Asterion, the previous Roadwarden. You can't tell anything from her eyes. Isn't he dead? I want to know for sure. If he's not, what else? Souls perish on the roads every day. We don't wait for him anymore. The best he can hope for is that he rode south. What is it that you were waiting for? That's not much of a secret. She looks to her right, then at you again. Head far east, to the crossroads. You'll find a watchtower, an old building made of our stone. You notice the pride in her voice, but hardly used since the war. Your friend wanted to turn it into a shelter. Hire guards patrol the roads. He took our key and rode away. He was meant to meet with us again, trade for materials and tools. Never happened. Any idea who else could have such a key? Before it was completed, the builders were spending the rainy days in the coastal village in the far north. Gale Rocks, it's called. Ask there. Well, I'm pretty sure it's the one I already opened. Which way would you take if you were to travel to the watchtower? The northern road, most likely. There's more tribes there. But the eastern road is dangerous, no matter from which way you're going to enter it. But if you care about time, you could check on the gate. Though opening it on your own may not be easy. It used to be that our guards were keeping it open for the travelers, but the last one that we sent away, Quintus, is either dead or seeking refuge in another village. Still, behind the gate you'll find the shortcut. It's a dangerous path, but your palfrey may be just fast enough to get you to the other end. You ask her what she can tell you about this gatekeeper, and she gives you a warm look. He may be not of the sharpest wits, but he's loyal to his duty and returns kindness with kindness, like we all should. Okay, so he's the one I meant. Dang, a lot of questions. Are there any hunters from creeks locked in there with you? She frowns. You're the first soul who came here in a very long time. I met Quintus. He's doing fine. So he's still with us. Her voice rings with enthusiasm. She asks about his well-being, reacting to your story with a mixture of worry and joy. I'm sorry to hear about his nose. I hope he knows what he's doing. In his position, I would just look for work in Hallersdale or ask for help from his friends at Pelt. Okay. Don't you want me to ask the other villages for help? There's no love between us and them. We don't share drinks, stories, or dances. If it weren't for marriages, our children would never see each other, and if it wasn't for trade, we could just as well live on a mountain peak. They need our stone, we need fishes and salt from Gale Rocks, game meat from creeks, and grain from Hallersdale. But all of them are harpies, led by Lead and Grust. Greed and lust, the same ills that wounded our grandparents. She hesitates and looks to her left. Still, the wicked souls of White Marshes are even more buried in shadows. Sounds like you hold a grudge against them. She takes a deep breath. Yet, I won't spread any rumors. As much as it saddens me, they need us to survive, and we need them. And you're even stranger to us than they are. So there's more that could be said. She just doesn't trust me. Were you bothered by any bandits in recent seasons? Not in years, Warden. They did attack us on the road once before, but their little pack won't come here. At first, her tone is gentle, but after she blinks twice, it turns solemn. Or they would face our anger. Our walls fear only dragons. Our blades are made of steel. Do you have anything for sale? Maybe some food rations. We hardly have enough for ourselves. We used to get supplies for rocks and sculptures, but the monks advised us against it. Our wares may carry the illness. Alright, well. I guess we leave. And we can't even tell her we're leaving. How much time do I have? 4 hours. How long is it going to take? I can't even get back to Foggy. Alright, well, I guess back to Hallersdale. There's not much else I can do. I could go north, but that might take too much time. You ride through the open gate and then swiftly dismount. Some of the locals greet you politely, but they keep their distance. After you notice your own smell and the dirt on your clothes, you no longer wonder why. I head to the stables. The stable master shows up soon after you step away from Haas. His lips are thinned, and he gives you a longing glance toward the bridge. Here you go. He nods with gratitude and throws the bone into a leaky bucket hanging from a nail that grabs a wooden pitchfork. I let him work in peace. How much? I have 8 left. So I still need to plant this on the Eastern Road. Maybe it won't be muddy tomorrow, so. We have 8 left. I can't remember how much it cost me. So it's 2. Alright, well, let's head to the tailor, see if she can repair this. I need your services. Alright. In half an hour, your jacket will be carefully patched up. Well, let's repair it to full. Man, all those dragon bones that we got are just gone. Alright. Now we sleep. Sleeping in a room. And we're broke again. It's like paying rent now. The shivers wake you up. You open the window and see the dense fog covering Howler's Creek, spreading like milk throughout the entire village. You hear an amused quarrel coming from the main square and spot the dancing lights of torches and lanterns, yet the village remains calm and asleep. Fogs tend to get more common in late summer, but the tribes of the Dragonwoods often see them as a bad sign. The wild spirits they carry are believed to impact both the visible and the invisible, and not in ways that help humankind. I sigh. If there are any undead in these woods, the fog will strengthen them. The moon is bright, and so is the night. You recognize shapes of owls and bats and spot movements on the ground. There are many stories about the moon's origins and purpose, and they're older than any of the doctrines known in the cities. These legends are shared not by religions, but rather by tribes, as if they're part of a deeper conviction. Something spread through the milk of mothers and wet nurses, or through the whispers of the trees and winds. Oh, see, I like these because we get to choose, like, the background here. The moon is a powerful spirit who watches and guides humankind when we have no sun, so called the center of the eye. It's a large rock that one day will fall from the sky and crush everything that's alive. Oh, someone played Majora's Mask. For some reason, it controls the weather. It gathers weak clouds like a shepherd and shapes the tides. I mean, that's a realist statement, I guess. You spend the night in peace in a clean bed, and with a tightly shut window and a warm blanket. In the morning, you find a stool placed by your bed covered with a pie with hare and cabbage, a bowl of plums and grapes, and a cup of mouflon milk. Once you get dressed and go downstairs, a young boy who's covered in mud and speaks unusually loud and enthusiastically mentions that Haas has already been brushed and watered. You nod, but he runs outside without noticing it. Alright. Well, let's leave the square and go on my way. Alright, so we can't get the creepers that way. Well, let's try to get to the other town here. How many? Shoot. I need some rations for that guy, but... How many days? I should have taken note of it. I know I still got a couple before I have to go back to Foggy Lake. Well, Let's try to go that way, I think. Actually, we could probably clean that up. Nah, let's do this first. You ride along shallow waters on one side and flooded trees on the other. You reach what seems like the end of the road. The turn south is already overgrown, most likely abandoned after it was devoured by the bog. But as you look north, you see a wide clearing that, with time, has become a meadow, and a lonely hut at the end of an often traveled path. At first, you ride down slightly, following the twisted trail. There's plenty of puddles around, as well as brown, gray, and purple grasses. But all of them are too short for any lurking predators, and the few foxes you see far away don't pay you any attention. You pass by the fresh tracks of heavy, hoofed beasts, but spot no wild game in sight. Your ears can't free themselves from the birds, rodents, and dragonflies. We need to ride carefully. If Haas's leg sinks into the mud, it may get broken. The farther north you ride, the shorter the grass gets. These vast peat fields, broader than 2 or 3 villagers placed side by side, are many years old. The turf bricks surrounding the solitary hut are still fresh, drying in the late summer light. The scent of this area is like that of no bog you've ever encountered. Instead of a sublime aroma of healthy soil, it's intense, sulphury, leaving an almost sour taste on your tongue. The short scarp is dripping with water, like a running sword of the earth, carved with spade and muscle. The house, made of birchwood, dried turf, and a blanket of soil, is a structure you're not too familiar with, but you imagine its interiors are much smaller than they appear to be. The walls are a few feet thick to keep in the warmth, and such roofs tend to get soggy until they collapse after a decade or so. The only soul in sight is sitting on the bench, stuffing his mouth with fistfuls of green leaves that he takes out of a small basket placed on his knees. I introduce myself, and for now stay in the saddle. Still chewing, he mutters something in response, then shakes his hairy head, swallows, and puts the basket away. He stands up and takes a single step forward, approaching the end of the scarp. His arms are entangled by green creepers, longer than he is tall. They rub against the ground after each step, and judging by the way they occasionally twitch, they're very much alive, even though you can't see where they originate from. Dane the Roadwarden, he repeats, this time clearly. He moves his sealed lips left and right, as if he's tasting your name, still not sure if he should swallow it or spit it out. Your face is familiar, but not this. He points at your mount, staring at it for a good minute. His voice is quiet and young, not older than 30. If you were standing next to each other, he would be almost a head shorter than you, but for now he towers over you. He has sunken cheeks and sloped shoulders, and while his gray woolen robe was never pretty, it's not close to being a rag, and his sandals reveal long toenails. I observe him more closely. Is he taken over by the plants? His eyes are as brown and dark as the grasses of this very bog. His left earring is made of a tusk and a feather, while the right one is an hourglass made of silver, though a broken wing makes it at all times tilted under its own weight. The leather strips on his wrists and ankles hold beads, pieces of amber, old game dice, and tiny skulls of birds and critters. Even more cords are hanging from his neck, some of them so long they reach his stomach. They carry countless amulets, some of them torn, dried, shabby, or fragmented, and you spot among them small boxes made of wood and bone, as well as leather pouches which hide even more secrets. Dude's got some bling. Were you here before? Mayhap I dreamt you in my sleep. His voice and look are absent. If so, I'm Thyrsis, the Turf Warden. Dreamt? He observes you keenly, letting out an approving grunt. No, 'tisn't your shell I saw, but your wondering eyes. Hands used to touch beasts more than humans. Ass burning from a saddle, and cold sweats for nights. 'Twas a man before you here, a Styrian, and was as lost as you are. Lost. He makes a dramatic pause, and smiles, but not unwelcome. Okay. Do you know anything about a Styrian's whereabouts? He raises his chin. You know what? I may. His amulets rattle after his triumphant announcement, but he then looks at the clouds in the distance. You wait for him to carry on, to no avail. I wait patiently. He nods to himself. Didn't notice it's been so long. Fall's almost here. Where is he then? Well, not at my place, it's for sure. To prove his point, he raises one of his creepers and opens the door. Though from where you're sitting, you see mostly the cold fireplace and the darkness behind it. But you do have an idea where I can look for him. Yep, at a monster's lair, most likely. Great, you're very helpful. I nod. Any monster in particular? He looks away and reaches for one of his bracelets. He asked me for help with many. Was heading for a journey, he said. Needed bogey bombs to scare animals away. You push him a bit, but he doesn't have to think long, as if these questions have been bothering him for the entire season. Weirdest ones were for the harpies, and he wanted ones for sea monsters. But I've no such things. I cannot poison the sea. As you think what to make of it, all of it, he starts to tap his toes, taking a deep breath. There's a huntress living in Pelt of the North, this inn in the southern road. Delete. Asterion said she knows wild beasts like no other soul, so he was prepared for them anyway. Is he your client, or do you share a goal? He crosses his arms, making the creepers hit his amulets. Never had a witch or warlock at home. 'Twas wrong for me to speak for others. I'll take on my pyre a lot of shame and doubt, and I need to be trusted. People claim that he and your tribe were planning something big. Do you deny that? He rolls his eyes, shrugging his arms and showing his empty palms, yet the nervous twitches of the creepers add little to his innocent demeanor. He and I traded a few times, but I didn't bed with him or offer him mint and stew. He said he may have had a job for me in the woods, and I told him I don't need his bones anymore. When asked what he did need, Thyrsus purses his lips. I want things to change, that's all. I wake up to awoken shells in the fogs, and Glaucia's robbers threatening my family. All I want's for this cursed land to be normal. His yawn comes out of nowhere. But you then notice his dropped shoulders and heavy eyelids. And yep, that warden told me he's going to take care of it. Thanks. What else? Some plants are blocking the way to White Marshes. How about the road south from here? With a horse and no guide, you get swallowed in no time by monsters and the mud. He raises his hands, waggling his fingers as if he's casting a curse. My green pets keep the troublemakers away. But I could make an exception for a warden, one willing to prove they bring gifts, not troubles. What's the toll? He reaches for his basket and places it on the lower edge of the scarp, crouching right behind it. You look inside. Indeed, it's filled with wild leaves, flowers, and berries. Give me enough for a day or so, and I'll bend the vines for a day or so. These wild fruits and leaves are not much, but I can give you a lot of them. He purses his lips, his toes flinching nervously. You think I cannot find those by myself? Fine, go ahead. He mutters with resignation, and you throw in enough fruits and leaves to fill up his basket. He snaps his fingers. Done. I found a scrap of land that I think may be cursed. Actually, I'll quick save first, because I don't want to deal with him looking at it, if I can just use the sapling that I've already paid for. I found a scrap of land that I think may be cursed, though I'm not sure how to examine it. And you're saying the rest of the north isn't cursed? He lets out a chuckle, but seeing how you still wait for his advice, he raises one of his creepers and, looking in the distance, scratches it. I've no cure for that. Ask Eudosha, the witch from the other side of the woods, far east. Maybe she has a wand or something. Okay, so. Do you live here all by yourself? Yep. Warlocking, peddling, guarding turf. My tribe dug out what they can this summer. I just keep dragons away from squashing the bricks. Your eyes turn west, following the man's raised finger, and you indeed notice a distant trail of massive three-fingered footprints, now turning into small puddles. They're as long as your torso with pointy claws, one of which appears to be broken at its tip. Let's say I were to help your people with the bandits and got rid of the undead. Would you return the favor? He spares you a yellow grin. So, that's all you say? Yep. Save the north, or scrap, if all I care about, and I'll follow you into a fog. I raised my chin. Did you choose to move to this field, or were you forced to do so? Alright. He reaches toward his chest, rubbing a small tusk nervously. One of us surely like to ask questions, while the others got work to do. His voice is colder than soil. But how do you avoid wild beasts? It's them who avoid this place. They're afraid of my spears and my plants and poisons. Seeing you frown, he raises his creepers quickly, waving them like a dancer with scarves. Yet his arms remain still. They're stronger than muscles, he simply explains. But still, I'm not much for wanderer. Do you have anything to sell, Warlock? He eagerly smiles and steps away, reaching to the doorknob with his right creeper. Odds and ends. Want to buy a hook? Venturers love those, and I've got it for cheap. He doesn't give you time to respond. On most days I brew and mix stuff for poisons and medicine, if one's desperate enough to cross the bogs for it. I've one that withers plants, and one that kills worms and bugs, and one that keeps flies away for better health. Let me take a look. All way too much. Well, I'm going to need that eventually. Nothing I can afford right now. Alright. Well, now we can get to White Marshes, at least. The road twists between the flooded purplish grasses. The field ahead of you is still green, bearing the second sowing of broad beans, maybe the third one, if the land allows it. The workers ignore you. Some of them are nothing but bones. Some carry scraps of flesh, wearing them like forgotten rags, and others look almost human, as if they were woken right after death. Most of the witless shells move around piles of soil, carry wooden logs, or dig in the ground with their bare hands, but there are those also with considerable abilities that use pitchforks, hoes, and splitting axes, and confidently cross the uneven ground. There's only a few breathing souls in sight. They observe your passing, but keep their distance. Well, that sounds like bait. I keep the blade at hand just in case. The guards let you in without questioning. The entrance and the wall in general were recently constructed, though are still not finished. There will soon be yet another gate, allowing for trade and conversations without opening the village to danger. Just like in the fields, the work is divided between the undead, who carry bricks and take care of the most thankless tasks, while the locals cut rocks and spread mortar. The difficult past is still carved in the villagers' gaunt faces and crude outfits, and their brief glances show little curiosity. A few of them are sharing a meal right next to the well, and the victuals in their baskets consist of green leaves, fruits, eggs, and cuts of roasted meat, the food of foragers. You're told to wait here for the mayor. Don't roam on your own. The guard's voice is harsh, despite the stutter. I tether Haas at a small shed. The man shows up soon after, with a careless saunter, and he hardly spares you a look, instead staring at your palfrey. The stranger from the forest garden. I cannot guess why you'd want to come here. Who are you, even? His stature would be considered average in most villages, but in comparison to the rest of his tribe, he's portly, muscular, tall, and with a large square face. His hands are resting on the shaft of the poleaxe placed across his shoulders, making him seem even larger. His long, straw-colored beard is shabby, and makes his bald head look shiny. You can't really tell how old he is, though you see no wrinkles. Just like the others, he's wearing prominent charms, favoring tiny figurines of animals made of bone and wood. Only one of them is hanging from his neck, a silver amulet portraying the head of a moose with large antlers. While valuable, it looks older than the other critters and quite crude in form. I introduce myself. He sizes you up. And I'm Helvius. Who let you in? Was it Thyrsus? He's as much a gatekeeper as a fly is a warden to a piece of shit. He gives you a telling frown. Okay. Well, this is going to be interesting. We finally made it to the village of the undead, basically, where they actually control them. But hopefully I shouldn't have much trouble. I'm full on vitality, full on nourishment. My armor's in good shape. I mean, my appearance is okay. Probably a little dirty, but clothes are probably a little torn. But anyway, I think before I get into this, I think I'm gonna stop for today so I can come back to it tomorrow and start off here. But appreciate hanging around. I don't know if JT's still around, but thanks for the follow. And yeah, we'll be back again 5 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. So I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we will talk to you soon.